and black men were given the legal right to vote under the 15th Amendment in 1870. Nearly 50 years before white women gained the same right. But that right came with danger. Trying to vote could cost a black man his freedom or his life. Across the South, terror groups and white mobs made voting a risk few could afford to take. Black codes, and later Jim Crow laws, were passed to control nearly every part of black life. Under these laws, black Americans were required to have proof of employment. If they did not, they could be arrested and forced to work for former slave owners once again. Landowners could accuse black men of crimes they did not commit, to trap them into unpaid labor. The legal system turned survival into a daily negotiation with danger. For black women, freedom brought little protection. Many worked as maids, cooks, and nannies in white households, where they were often subjected to harassment, violence, and constant threats. They had no legal defense against mistreatment. Black children were vulnerable from the start. Under so-called apprenticeship laws, many were taken from their families and forced to work for white employers, often under brutal conditions. Some faced physical mistreatment. Some faced even worse forms of exploitation that left scars no child should bear. These children grew up knowing that survival meant silence, caution, and strength beyond their years. For Native Americans between 1870 and 1913, survival meant facing the slow, brutal dismantling of their lands, their families, and their way of life. The U.S. government promised peace through treaties, but those promises were broken again and again. Every time Native nations tried to hold onto their land, their culture, or their sovereignty, new policies were created to strip them away. The Dawes Act of 1887 forced Native families to accept small plots of land, breaking apart family unity. If a Native person refused to leave their traditions behind and become a farmer in the white man's way, they risked losing everything. Children were often taken from their families and placed in government-run boarding schools. They were forced to cut their hair, change their names, and abandon everything that connected them to their ancestors. Violence against Native people did not end with the wars of the past. The Wounded Knee Massacre in 1890 showed that Native families were still seen as obstacles, not citizens. For Asian Americans between 1870 and 1913, life in America meant working hard in a country that saw them as permanent outsiders. Most early Asian immigrants were Chinese men, brought over to help build the railroads that connected the coasts. They laid railroad tracks across deserts and mountains, doing the most dangerous jobs for the lowest pay. Without their labor, America's westward expansion would have stalled. But as soon as the railroads were complete, many white Americans turned on the workers who helped build them. Racism grew louder. Chinese immigrants were attacked in the streets, pushed out of towns, and blamed for economic problems they did not create. The anger became law with the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, the first major immigration law in American history to target a specific race. New Chinese immigrants were banned from entering the country. Those already here could not become citizens, no matter how long they lived or how much they contributed. Japanese immigrants began arriving in larger numbers in the early 1900s, many coming first to Hawaii or the West Coast. They found opportunities in farming and small businesses, but quickly faced rising hostility too. Newspapers warned of a so-called yellow peril, and laws were passed to limit their ability to own land. That's a wrap, history seekers. Catch the full story on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Peace and love.